Okay, there we go. Let's begin with prayer. Father, thank you so much for the opportunity to share with persons of like-minded faith. We ask for your guidance and direction in all things, that your people would appreciate the prophetic gift that you've given to your church. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. And so, once again, welcome. Remember, we don't meet weekly now. We're meeting the second and fourth Monday of each month. And what I will be sharing with you will be some pointers, I guess you might call, on the life of Ellen White as an individual, a mother, an author, etc. Now, I have one little problem. I am not at home and I don't have my secondary screen. And so I'm going to have to improvise with the slideshow. So just bear with me. And here we go. So we'll work with this here. So we ask the question, who is Ellen White? And get some basic information. She was born November 26, 1827 in Gorham, Maine, the youngest of 8 children. And at the age of 9, some of you are familiar with this story, some are not. She was walking home from school and another girl threw a stone at her, which broke her nose, left her weak, emotionally shaken, and she was in some sort of a coma for a period of time. And that's the short issue. You can find additional information online. So it affected her studies because she could not continue her studies in a weakened state. She was walking home with her sister. I mean, just try to give you the basic. So it also says she struggled with fear, insecurity, feelings of unworthiness, but at the age of 12 experienced a deep conversion to come to know Christ. And she saw herself as timid, hesitant, not naturally bold or confident. You will find information on her, um, quite a bit of her life and several resources, which I will share with you toward the end. And so this was her early upbringing. This was in America even before the Civil War. She's born 1827. So the Civil War had not yet taken place. So she grew up around that time. Many of you would know about the great controversy where they believed Jesus would come October 22nd, 1844. Not great controversy, sorry, great disappointment. It didn't happen. And someone, they restudied it and eventually they came to the conclusion, led by the experience of two of the pioneers of the Adventist Church, that the 1844 date, which was correct, they had the right date but not the right event, related to a movement of Christ. Let me slow down. Related to a change in ministry from Christ's ministry from the holy into the most holy place. She started traveling around the country relating these experiences after she was convinced she needed to speak out publicly, and she had a vision which she shared with those who were still meeting. They were still trying to understand it. They believed Jesus would still come, but they did not have a date this time. Her and James White were moving around. She was Ellen Gord Hammond as she was born, and they decided, look, this doesn't look good for two of us to move around like this in this fashion. We better get married. How does that suit you for a marriage proposal? And so eventually they were married in 1846. So you now have a combination of affection, mission, and hardship because they're traveling by basically horse and buggy, moving around. Quite poor at the beginning. Well, she died poor, if you ask me. Went through quite a bit of illnesses, still was ill, and they constantly traveled together. sacrifice, support. They were there for each other. That was the basis of it. It was quite a bit. And so that was how she started her life as a mother who loved deeply. 4 sons, Henry, Edison, Willie, and John Herbert. She lost 2 of her children, Henry at 16 and John in infancy. So she knew what it was to lose a child. She suffered grief and pain, even though she felt she was called by God to do a particular work, yet still, she had that experience. And you're dealing with rural America where medicine, modern day medicine, was basically unheard of. This was a time when some persons still utilized the razor to perform surgery. So since the barber cut hair with a razor, you needed to perform surgery. Guess he wiped this blade on his coat or his pants or whatever and cut you in order to let out the poisonous blood, as they call it. Said one American president died from that, where they use things like cocaine to help with sickness. Coca-Cola actually started out with cocaine in it, I'm told, and certain other stuff where you did not have modern sanitary facilities. And so you use the bucket in the morning. Someone said you just took it and threw it out the window. Hopefully someone was not passing by. If they were passing by, they had the umbrella up. And in that day and age, when women wore long skirts that dragged the ground, the modern germ theory, bacteria, viruses, etc., was unknown. And so they came in, hopefully dusted off as much of the stuff as they could. But germs, viruses, etc., would still be clinging to this long, sweeping skirt that was sweeping everything on the ground. And you bring that inside your home. Imagine a 2-year-old on the ground or 1-year-old on the ground playing, and all that stuff came off the street into the home. That's what we're looking at there. But it's saying she was a protective mother, grieving deeply yet clinging to her faith at the loss of her children. Balancing ministry and motherhood, traveled frequently with young children under difficult conditions. Like I said, you didn't have no automobile, you just use horse and buggy. Eventually the train, which could be hot, no AC, no comforts. Modern refrigeration wasn't there as yet. So when you travel, fresh fruits and vegetables are basically a thing unheard of. You ate whatever was available. Let's look at this. Express guilt when ministry responsibilities pulled her away from home. Sometimes she had to travel and leave home with her young children. She's tried to raise her sons with love, so discipline, spiritual grounding, but like every mother, she also had challenges. As an author, she wrote a lot of pages. She's believed to be, at one point, if not still, the most translated American author, both male and female. We know she produced a lot of books, letters, articles, journals, sometimes ill or exhausted. And she was doing this by lamp or candle or something of that nature. The modern day electricity never really came about until in the early 1900s, and she never did get it in her home. So you're writing by candle, getting up early in the morning, writing. She faced her share of criticism, her human limitations, her imperfections, faced skepticism from some church members, ministers, even close associates. Was she really all that she claimed to be? Were her visions true, etc., etc.? These were things. But she persisted in spite of her discouragement, misunderstanding. They saying there were the doubters, but she was also, persons also used her whereby they cherry-picked her writings like we sometimes do with the Bible. In 1888, when they were debating on the question of righteousness by faith, someone says, Ellen White says this. What is the statement? But nobody could find it. And she was like, I'm glad you can't find it. She didn't remember what they were talking, but she says, go back to the scripture. So that was one of the things. And she rebuked the brethren at the general conference, say, sometimes you quote from my writings in order to further this point or that point that you want the brethren to believe. But when the writings go contrary to your ideas, then you ignore them. You cannot find them. And so she was not unanimously accepted by everyone. And so she had to go through the situation of one of her helpers in her writing said that, look at these writings are mine, not yours. I wrote them, because she had literary assistants who would help her. One of the books that she had a help with was when she rewrote The Great Controversy. The first one was released in 1888 and it had some historical mistakes where she looked at other books to get the dates, etc. And she would tell you the dates were not inspired. She knew certain events, so she looked them up to get information. And then she realized that she had them rewrite it. One of the reasons for rewriting The Great Controversy, so the one we have is the second edition, which was released in 1910, about 5 years before her death, was that the printing press that they used, the iron plates, stamping. Think of, some of you are old enough to remember the old typewriters with the metal thing. And when you hit a key, a T struck the ribbon and the ink on the ribbon hit the paper. Well, after a while, they were wearing out. After being used to do so many pages, they began to wear out. So they needed to develop a new press, but before they did that, she had them, she decided to revise it. And the same thing with the book Desire of Ages. There's actually an entire document on the writing of the Desire of Ages where she utilized the writings of others. And persons say, well, she's not a prophet. And that statement is based on the fact that persons believe that everything a prophet or inspired writer did came through visions and dreams, whereas the scripture does not say everything came from a vision or a dream. We sometimes assume that, but you don't find that in scripture. The other thing I would point out is that she used literary assistants. She would have them look through her notes and help compile them together and produce her books, like stuff on the life of Christ. They had to go through all of her writings, find the information, compile them. They would make her, let's say they wrote a paragraph, she would look at it, make changes to it, etc. They'd bring it back to her until it was perfected. And so when you look at the book like Desire of Ages, you can see it was written by a single author, even though individuals did the physical writing of it, yet still she was the guiding force behind the entire thing in compiling and bringing it together based on all of her writings, stuff like Selected Messages, books 1, 2, and 3. You look through those and you begin to see some of her earliest writings. Her Humanity and Personal Letters wrote about gardening, cooking, family life, daily frustrations, express humor, affection, practical wisdom. It shows a relatable woman navigating ordinary struggles. There's a set of letters called, I think it's the Pauline letters. Let me see if I can pull it up. I didn't think about including this one, where her and James White at one point were in different parts of the country laboring, writing letters back and forth, and each one claimed that the other one was trying to control them. So let me share this with you. Let's see, do a new share. I just decided to pull something up. Okay, here we go. Good. So I did a quick search in Google Gemini. I was familiar with it. Says the final 16 years of their marriage, because James would have died in 1881, as the most difficult. James suffered a stroke in 1865, and it affected him both physically and mentally. Anger, marital tension. As I said, a brief separation due to disagreement. Both acknowledged frustration, sought forgiveness for their conduct toward each other eventually. Communication struggles. She expressed regret over how she had handled certain matters. Their correspondence showed that she struggled with emotional strain, unwise conduct when under pressure. Okay, the constant travel, financial poverty, heavy leadership created a backdrop of near constant discouragement. And this is where this information was pulled from. Adventist Review, the conjugal experience of James and Ellen White, Andrews University, Ministry Magazine, Daily Devotions. Never heard about this one. James and Ellen White's Marriage, a Deeper Look. Okay, I'm going to tell it yes. Sorry. I'm looking at okay, there you go. So it's going to do a quick search for me to find the information. Okay, la 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 la. All right, connect. All right, let's go. So let's see. Okay, not quite what I'm looking for. Okay, not quite. Let's see. I'll try and pull some of these right up. May 1876 correspondence. But basically, that is the gist of it. They did have problems in their marriage. So someone says, well, how could they have problems in their marriage and be a prophet? That's just the way God works. He doesn't choose people who are perfect. If he's looking for perfect people, he would have bypassed everyone. That's the gist of it all there. She encouraged balanced living, rest, healthy habits, even though sometimes it felt that she was overworked. Promoted education because of her. The Seventh Adventist Church has one of the largest education system among churches in the world because of her ministry. Now, what I want to show you, I'm going to stop here, are some resources where you can get further information. And I'll show you because person say, well, she was a fraud, she was a this, she was a that, because we placed her in our early days as a church on such a high pedestal, we did not know eventually how to take her down when we discovered she was a human being. Now, here's where I want to, okay, good. I decided to go ahead and look up some information. Let me share it with you ahead of time, and then I'll take your questions. Okay, on your screen, there's an author by the name of George Knight. He came to the Bahamas in the late 90s, possibly somewhere up in there. I don't remember the exact date, but that's not important. If you can get a hold of these 4 books, A Brief History of Seventh-day Adventists, that's good. Walking with Ellen White, Her Everyday Life as a Wife, Mother, and Friend. I've gone through some of it. It's extremely good. Reading Ellen White. And then there's another one called Ellen White's World. Let me pull this one up so you can understand the context in which she lived and operated. The world in which she lives, which provides a deep appreciation and understanding of her writings. Photographs and drawings illustrate life in the late 1800s and early 1900s. One of the questions people always ask, why didn't she smile? It was, I think, George Knight or one author, I don't remember who made mention of the fact that in that day, photography was something that took a while. You had to stand still, and the cameras were some long processing to get the light and everything. And so you had to be absolutely still. It was easier to keep a solemn face than to try and hold a smile for maybe 2, 3 minutes. And that's why they say all the photos from that time were persons just looking still, not smiling. But yes, she was a woman who smiled a lot. I want to pull up, come on, I need to get this sort of the way. Okay, here we go. Something else, and this is coming from the whiteestate.org. Let me show you how I got to it. I am here, so this is another one, accept all cookies. This was another picture of her. She is a fair skin. Let me see. Here's your menu. Issues and answers. Okay, Ellen White biography. This is what I'm looking for. Who she was, the early years, marriage of James and Ellen Hammond. One sidetrack, the seventh-day Sabbath. We learned about that from the Seventh-day Baptist. Joseph Bates met a woman by the name of Rachel Oakes, who taught him about the Sabbath. I think, or was it Pablo Wheeler? Don't remember the exact trace of it. And then he wrote something. Begin to publish, move to Battle Creek, great controversy vision. So she had a vision, and then she used material of the time to help describe what she saw in vision, bringing together the historical facts. Similar to what Luke did in Luke chapter 1, verse 1 to 3. He basically says he researched it because he wasn't around, and he wrote a book and sent it to Theophilus, a Roman official. And so here you have Spiritual Gifts, Volume 1, which I mentioned earlier, the great controversy between Christ and his angels and Satan. And his angels was published in 1858. So she brought all of this together when she did the 5 books, Patriarchs and Prophets, Conflict of the Ages series, Patriarchs and Prophets, Prophets and Kings, Desire of Ages, Acts of the Apostles, Great Controversy. She would have done all of that, brought all of those together. So I just thought I would make mention of that to you. So that's on her life. The home in Battle Creek, health reform vision, work expands, writing and traveling, death, a visit to Europe, which some says the GC sent to Europe because they didn't want to listen to her. If you ask Pastor Hannah, thought that was interesting. Called to Australia, medical work, African American outreach. She pushed the church because the church was a cosmopolitan reflection of the society. You're dealing with the Civil War had pretty much ended, where the northern states won over the southern states, but they were still separate. As a Black person, you still had to watch how you interacted with the Caucasian folks, and that affected the church. Even in General Conference, Carlton Bird speaks about that, how at GC, you had different cafeteria, different water cool, etc., based on your race. That was a part of our church. To some degree, we still have those challenges where we have regional conferences, which are, I think, all Black as opposed to the so-called white conferences. And I made mention of that there. Now, I want to show you something else. Okay.
Black and Hispanic mixed in both.
Repeat. Okay. Okay, here we go. if you look at my screen, you will see, okay, this is, oops, lost it. Oh boy, all right. Okay, good. Great controversy. This is in 1888. All right, there's another way to do this. I want you to see something. All right. It's not allowing me, that's one. Come on. Okay, pop out. This is what I'm looking for. Here we go. Great controversy, 1888. This is the second one. I'm going to pull that up. The major difference between these two, as I said, she had it revised when the when the press had basically worn out the, what do you call it, the template. She said, before you just make another one, I need to revise it, which she did. But they're basically the same. This one here should be the, 1911. And this one here would be the 1888. Okay. And they're pretty much the same. Okay. I'm going to set this, no. A. Let's close these two. It's not scrolling as I had hoped. In the 1888 version, you will notice there's an author's preface, which is missing in the 1910 version. You will also notice some differences: destruction, persecution, air of spiritual darkness. Okay, let's switch these around because this is throwing me off. Okay, so 1888 is on the left, 1910 is on the right. Air of spiritual darkness, persecution, the first centuries. Apostasy, Waldenses, John Wycliffe, Hudson Jerome. Luther's separation from Rome. Luther before the Diet, the Swiss reformer, progressive reform in Germany. Protests of the Princes, French Revolution, Netherlands, Scandinavia, late English reformers, the Bible and the French Revolution, the Pilgrim Fathers. They're pretty much the same. American reformer, light through darkness, great religious awakening, warning rejected, prophecies fulfilled. What is the sanctuary? Make this a little larger, okay. God's law immutable. They're pretty much the same. She tried to keep it. Here's one. 1888 Spiritualism, chapter 34. 34, can our dad speak to us? The ministry of holy angels as presented in the scriptures. You will notice it's pretty much the same. The paging, here we go. They tried to keep it as close as possible. $33, $35, okay, liberty of conscience threatened. And here this one says character aims at the papacy, impending conflict, its causes. Here just said the impending conflict, scriptures to safeguard, final warning, time of trouble, God's people delivered, dashes with it, controversy ended, etc. They're pretty much the same, but she asked for this to be rewritten. Oops. Well, let's go here. I want to show you something, and I'm taking a time out. This is 2014. Let me see. It's not. Okay, original date, 1911, when it was released. If you look at this one, 1888. Publisher's preface again, 1888. And she oversaw this. Author's preface was there. In this one, we do not have the author's preface for whatever reason. Another one I want you, and I'm taking your time, is not fully related to a life, but I thought I'd just share some of these tidbits with you. Has to do with the writing of the Desire of Ages. Okay, gotta do it again. All right, I know what I have to do. Pop out. Good. Get a hold of this. You should be able to find it online. Manuscript release, how the Desire of Ages was written. And I'm showing you these things to help you understand. And here you have the dates. Let's pull up this one. 20 pages in the pub. This was rather a trying subject to write upon, but Mary and I have read it, she as their husband, over the afternoon, and we pronounce it excellent. Excellent. She says the subjects grow better and better, everyone. She is just happy over this work. Let her. So this was something that was done over a period of time where she was writing, compiling information on what she had written previously on the life of Christ. And this is how this here, we would say, came about. It is a compilation, but because it was so, to me, skillfully done, you don't notice that she was pulling from all of her work. The problem came in because we assumed differently, and that's how we quite often taught it. And when critics started examining it, they say, hey, this here she borrowed from this author, she borrowed from that author. And she had quite a very large library. They used to have it online, but I haven't been able to find it lately. Here she's writing again. Dear children of the household, I've been doing the 45 years experience showing the lives, the character, and history of the patriarchs and prophets who had come to the people with a message from God. And Satan would start some evil report or get up some differences of opinion or turn the interest in some other channel that people should be deprived of the good the Lord has bestowed upon them. I could but have a vivid picture in my mind from day to day of the way the reformers were treated, how slight differences of opinion seemed to create a frenzy of feeling. Thus it was in the betrayal, trial, and crucifixion of Jesus. All of this had passed before me point by point. So all of this information is coming together, her visions, her research, etc., etc. You can get that there now. One second, I'm looking for something. Yes. Basically, unpublished material drawn from Ellen White's letters and manuscripts. There's something I'm looking for. Where is it? Okay, I'm not finding it, but no. I ordered this when I was in college. I don't know if I can find the document now, but I did order it. This is something that the church had produced from 1979. Part of the challenge is our view of how God works with the inspired writer, one, and two, how we believe he worked with Ellen White, which we don't. It was a very, I don't know what word I can use. But we basically thought everything came through visions and dreams, and that's not the way he worked with them. This document here shows how she was writing over a period of time, some of the challenges she faced. Eventually, when the Conflict of Ages series was written, she pulled all of her material relating to that would comprise those 5 volumes, and she published them, which was something which was common within her time, by the way. Others did it. Some used footnotes, some did not use footnotes. Even today, we find a similar situation. If you look at the Seventh-day Adventist Bible Commentary, which I just pulled up, there are no footnotes. They show where Ellen White made comments on the passage, but look at that Philippians chapter 3. These were Bible scholars. This was completed in the 80s. Francis D. Nichol, citation 1980. Okay. Copyright 1980. This when this was finished. But you'll notice there are no footnotes, but I'm not seeing anyone, and I'm sure they research based on how they wrote. Well, it's still being done today. Think about it. A lot of books you read don't have footnotes inside of it, or endnotes, whatever you want to call it. But that was just the way persons wrote at that time. The principle I was taught, of course, it's more vigorous, is that if the information is found in 4 or more sources, it's considered common material. One last thing I'll show you, and then I'll stop. Look at this gentleman here. Prolific writer. He died somewhere. There's more stuff, but anyway, come on. That he wrote. Oh, I need to close this. Okay, there you go. This is one. He taught me in graduate studies, 2003. He says he doesn't like footnotes and he does not use them. It's rare that he uses them. And when you look at it, he read stuff for this. But he doesn't like footnotes. He says he doesn't use them. William H. Shea, prolific author. He is quoted quite often, but in most of his works, unless he feels he's really forced to, he does not use footnotes. But no one has tried to sue him. They've not tried to sue the Biblical Research Institute, because it would have been a lot, maybe even a class action lawsuit to say, hey, this guy used my work. I'm just showing you. So if this is happening today, this was completed in the 90s. Let's see. Citation 1992, okay? But the way he does it, apparently it's accepted. Okay, questions, comments? I've been talking a little while now on what I've covered. Just want to make sure. Any questions, any comments? Everything is clear as mud. All right, that's okay then. I think you can unmute yourself, if I'm not mistaken. Can you unmute your microphones? Someone try it for me, please.
Yes, we can.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah,
So
and
that is just a brief overview. One of the things I will encourage you to do, whiteestate.org. If you use it, it can be quite instrumental in helping you understand about her work, her life. Last thing I will share with you, I've done this previously, but it wouldn't hurt to do it a second time. When you go to whiteestate.org, I want you to read through, and it will totally impact your understanding about how God works, issues and answers, basic principles regarding the messages of Ellen White, questions and answers about her, unusual statements, statements mistakenly attributed, reference library, resource center. Her son and grandson gives us insights into some of her writings. Let me see if I can find it. Sometimes she's painted as a killjoy. Let me see if I can find it. Gemini is trying to force me to use its workspace when I have no plans to. Okay. Okay, here it is. Let's see if they will tell me. Letter 18, 1860. So let's look it up. While she and James were traveling in a carriage near Bushnell, Illinois, something humorous occurred that caused Ellen White to laugh so hard that she fell over in the seat. In a letter describing the event, she noted that the laughter was so uncontrollable, she had to hold on to the side of the carriage to keep from falling out entirely. Okay, let's see. Letter 18, 1860. That's not, I wanted to do something a little more. So I'm going to, oh, come on. That's because I'm sharing. Okay. Pop out. Now, this is going to be a little tricky. I'm trying to, okay. Let's do it another way then. There's a will, there's a way. egwritings.org. That's another way you can accept. Let's see. Okay, letter 18, 1850, 1860. Let's see if we can narrow it down. Okay, here we go. Hide this for now. Make this a little larger. How? I'm trying to find the section to make this larger. Does anyone see it? I seldom use this to make the text larger. I always thought this was interesting. She took a while to name one of her sons, say, it's 5 o'clock. I approve this opportunity while the yet nameless one is asleep. He needs much attention. Never did I miss you as now. We had had Adele Jones to help us, but I should wish to be delivered from such a, she is such good for nothing, should not keep her after this week. I employed her that Jenny might be released to take care of me and tend the baby. But instead of that, Jenny did the washing and I was left without help until but 4 o'clock. No, this one is, no, this is not, let me see. I told her to tell Jenny, blah, 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 blah. Sister Kellogg came for me yesterday, and I took baby and me home with her. Last night I rested, yet my back is weak, and so I cannot get around much. Went upstairs, won my knees to get those things. Care for the poor, is poor, and blah, 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 blah. If you read this letter, you see an individual. You don't see a holy person, so to speak. 3 months old. I am trying. Let's see. This is going to be trick. Oh, this is letter 19. No wonder. Nobody spotted that. I said letter 18. So why did it give me 19? I was trying to figure out. I've never, like I said, I seldom use this one. So I'm going to go back to what I know. But I just wanted to, letter 18, suggestions. Oh, sorry, I keep forgetting. I need to remember to share. Here we go. Now, I'm trying to find it, but it's giving me a little challenge. I want to share this one with you. Okay, here's one. Elshaven years. I think that's how you pronounce it. Ah, this is what I'm looking for. So here it is, they're traveling. So even the smaller boat could not go all the way into shore. So two of the men crossed arms to make a chair for Ellen White and carried her to the beach. Mary White was told to put her arms around the neck of the one who carried Grace, and Ellen had a good laugh over the strange sight of this grown woman in her full skirts, clinging to the bronze naked back of a Samoan as he carried her and her baby Grace. So she was someone of humor. That's the whole concept there that I was looking for. There's another one. Okay, let's try something. Here's another one. Oops. Okay. Talking with her son, Willie White, so he spiced the meal with a few interesting and humorous stories. At first, Rasmussen boys were afraid to laugh, but when they saw Ellen White smile and heard Elder White laugh at his own jokes, they soon joined in. Sister White had no objection to a little sensible humor. Loud a story, hilarious laughing she detested. That's just another one. Another one here that you might find interesting. If I should relate to you the experiences, and this one was written by, let me see. Okay, manuscript releases. Information drawn from her letters an unpublished manuscript. I have had in regard to money matters since I returned home. You would laugh. I know. I can laugh now, but I assure you in the pinch of it was no laughing matter. She wrote this in 1855 to Uriah Smith and his wife. So she was not, as sometimes we like to paint her, as a killjoy. And that is the whole point, that she was a human being. She was someone with a sense of humor. Yes, she was serious. I read, I think, in one of Knight's book where her housekeeper or someone, yeah, let's call her the housekeeper, didn't want the children to disturb mother, as they called her. They wouldn't let her go. So what she would do, she would go around, open the back door, so the children could, in my own words, go through the back door, come up the steps, they spend a few minutes with her, and then she would tell them, okay, now go and, play or do whatever they had to do. So even though a housekeeper was trying to keep her grandchildren or children, whoever, from seeing her, I think at this stage it was grandchildren, she found a way for them to sneak in and to let them, so that they could see and spend a few moments with her. So as I say, she was a human being, an individual. She was a prophet, an author. When she died, she was basically in debt because she owed about 95,000, I think was the figure I saw, had about 65,000 in assets. So she was in debt when she died, even though she wrote against it. But again, she was just a human being. So that pretty much covers it. I still don't see anyone who has questions on what I've covered so far. You can just unmute or type in the chat, either way. But one of the things I would encourage you, and I'm going back into Gemini, I'm going to ask it, give me 10 stories about. If there aren't 10, it won't give it to me unless it exaggerates. Sense of humor. Let's try that and see what we get. Okay, we looked at number 1, the numb hand incident. She played a lighthearted trick on a friend. After her hand had gone to sleep and felt completely numb, she reached out and touched her friend with the cold, lifeless feeling hand. When the friend jumped in surprise, Ellen reportedly delighted in the successful prank. Let's see. Adventist Biblical Research, okay. I'm gonna put this same thing. GPT tends to give you better footnotes. I like my footnotes because sometimes these AI stuff, there's actually exaggerate and make up stuff. Yes. Okay. Say, post and put the exact citation beside each statement. All right. Okay. That's interesting. Okay, here she's saying there are ministers who preach long discourses and weary out the people. Starve in order to be healthy. Where she's using exaggeration. Innocent recreation. The hoops that women wear are shame, but that's not. Some think it's a virtue to be on the side of opposition, on people who never smile. Some think it is a sin to laugh. Fundamentals of Christian education. We have had to endure much inconvenience in traveling. Some said she did this with levity, and this is where George Knight stuff come in. There are those who make religion a burden instead of a blessing. Some ministers destroy their usefulness by long praying and long preaching. Mother had a keen sense of humor and enjoyed a good story. This Willie White, what he was writing. Now, let's go back to the beginning of it. Don't preach me to death. During the early camp meetings, when ministers were tempted to speak far beyond reasonable limits, she once quipped that some speakers seemed determined to preach the people into the grave. The remark was firm but delivered in a way that caused even the preacher to smile. But I like to find it if someone asks, where can I read this for myself? Her son Willie later recalled that she sometimes used humorous exaggeration to correct her children's habits, laughing as she described their minor faults in dramatic terms before guiding them back to seriousness. When some early believers became extreme about diet, she gently mocked fanaticism. She once remarked that if certain reformers had their way, people would starve in the name of health. Her comment exposed imbalance without condemning the people. So humor became a tool to steer a reformer away from extremism. Maybe, I'm not sure. The way they pull, I think I understand where they pull these from, but I wanted something a little more specific. Okay, this is an exact quote. Travel in the 1800s was difficult. After a particularly rough carriage ride, she reportedly joked that the road seemed determined to shake every doctrine out of us. The shared laughter helped ease tension after exhausting journeys. Gentle jab at argumentative spirits. Even if Gabriel came, say, in dealing with church disputes, she once told a contentious believer that some people would argue, even if Gabriel came down to settle their matter. She once said that if her pen could talk, it would beg for rest. Those close to her noted that she smiled as she said it. Playful comment about over-seriousness. When believers became overly rigid, she reminded them that Christianity was not meant to drain joy from life. In one gathering, she reportedly said that some acted as if smiling was sin. The room relaxed immediately. Oh, let me see if I can find a statement. Find the statement where she joked about her son sleeping while she was preaching. She had a dry sense of humor when she was ready. Let's see if we can find it. Come on, need to find it. Okay, biographical account by her son, Arthur White. Quoted in Review and Herald 1985, page 391, as recorded by Arthur White. One of Ellen White's early preaching appointments, her young son, William White, fell asleep on the platform while she was speaking. According to the narrative, she referred to the situation with gentle humor, acknowledging afterward that her own child had slept through a sermon. The remark reportedly brought laughing illustrator. Come on. Right. I can't find it. Where she said she used to bring him up on the pulpit and rock her with her feet. When he was a child, say now, so that he would go to sleep. Now he was sleeping even while she was speaking. It's like he still hasn't gotten over it. That's the... Okay.
Yeah, Lyndon, you can just copy paste that if you would like.
No,
I can.
I'm looking for another one, the exact thing.
Yeah, the exact paragraph.
Yeah, what I'm typing now.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the one. Okay, here we go. So when my second son was born, I was obliged to take him with me in my journeys. Often I have carried him with me to the place of meeting, laid him on a bed in the room while I was speaking, and while speaking, I've rocked the cradle with my foot. Now, and I think it was in this context, he said when the guy was sleeping, because she used to rock him with the foot. Now he's still sleeping even though he is an adult. Yeah, I don't remember. It might have been Knight's thing where I read it or somewhere in the autobiography. But those is just some material that you may find useful in understanding her. And when you begin to see her as a woman, a mother, a wife, the challenges she faced, the letters that she wrote to a lady about the strain between her and James White during a difficult time in their marriage. I'm told that she asked the lady to destroy them, but the lady never did. And I think that is providential because we now have access to them today. I think they were called the Paulson letters. I don't remember the exact name of it, but that is something else you may want to check out. But the whole concept is she was not a killjoy, as sometimes individuals would have you to believe. And once we begin to see that, it gives a different, we read it differently. And they talk about, was she a plagiarist, major themes, her visions. Ellen White and Israel Damon charge, not sure about that one. Bankrupt when she died, vegan or vegetarian. There were lapses in dietary practice even after the health reform message. You will find some of these quite interesting. Her and vaccines. A help at the Great Crisis. Credentials. And there's quite a bit. This is whiteestate.org. You can find all of these to put on your phone, by the way, whichever one you use. It's free to download. I don't know if this would work on modern phones. I mean, modern computers, Sonoma. What are we using now? Apple what? We're on Tahoe. Okay, don't know if it would work on this one. It might work. I haven't tried it, but that's something I'll probably look at later on. For Mac OS. So that would pretty much cover all I have. I didn't see any questions or comments, so we meet again the second Monday in the month of March. And I go into an evangelistic campaign on the 14th. And so it would not be available. If I can, well, I don't think I'll be able to stream it. So it may be off for a while. But I'll see if maybe I can get someone else to possibly do it. Let's close with prayer. Father, thank you so much for what we have learned. Help us to have a greater understanding and appreciation for the gift of your servant and the messages that she has given unto us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So good evening, everyone. And see you again. This is the fourth Monday, the second Monday in the month of March. All goes well. And the second Monday in the month of March brings us to the 9th. So the 20